just give you an introduction about this class and also about myself and what's the rules and, other things we need to pay attention to. I'll start with my self-introduction. I'm your teacher. My name is Daniel Wang. Currently, I work at Google, and my specialty is really in AI machine learning. I'm one of the principal AI consultants at Google. And previously, I also worked at Microsoft and many other technology companies. So I have 20 plus year experience in the IT industry. So all my work experience actually in the tech sector. Every company I worked, it's in the technology sector, including software company, hardware company. It's pretty much all of them are, very recognizable global brand companies. Okay, now let's get started with the class information. So I will play a video and hopefully you can hear the audio as well. Let me know if you cannot hear the audio. I have to maybe make some adjustment.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first parent meeting. In this meeting, I'm just going to quickly talk about some of the useful information to make sure that you're informed and that your child can be successful in XCamp. So the first thing to note is that there is some class information in the information tab. So if you're in the courseware for your course and you click on information.
Yeah. Now we go back. Seems Zoom is not working well. When I click around, okay, have to go back again. Let's continue with this.
Click on information, you'll be able to see some information such as the teacher, the class coordinator, link to the class, link to homework night, and other information like that. So please make sure that you know that under that tab, there's some helpful information. And then additionally, another place for helpful information is in the syllabus. Now, the syllabus is located in the course content for the class, and that just has an overview of the course content, along with some of the topics that are going to be taught in the class, and potentially even a introduction into what will be taught in the next class. Now, how do XCamp classes work? Well, currently we have all our classes conducted online in Zoom meetings, and the students are expected to have their webcams turned on in class, specifically with the camera facing their face so that we can see them. Now, all the students are encouraged to proactively engage in the class, and that's just through answering questions or participating in breakout room discussions, or participating in some coding practice, whether that's in discourse or separately assigned by the teacher. So there are lots of ways that students can participate during the class and are expected to participate. Now, after the class, students will be assigned a homework exercise, and those homework exercises are a little bit different than if you're used to completing your homework assignments at school. So usually with the homework assignments at school, they're a little bit quicker and there's probably more problems and it's a little bit easier to get full points, where the students are expected to get full points on their first try if they understood the course content. And I just want to tell you that with coding, that's not quite the case. Even if you understand the content, it really takes some time to practice it. And you should not have the expectation that you're always going to get 100% during the week on your very first try. We really value upsolving, and that's just this idea of once you've tried the problem, going back to see if you can try it again until you get your 100% on the question or 100% on your homework. Now, that often will be beyond just the week that you were expected to work on the homework. However, it is important to note that we will contact parents if the homework scores for a specific child is really low for 2 weeks. So if a student is failing to do their homework or just solving a couple questions on the homework, and really missing out on the bulk of it, that's when we will contact you and make sure that you are up to date and we can find some solutions to help your child. Now, we have a problem-solving process, and this is what we expect our students to follow. Now, they might choose to do so in a different way, but this is really what we recommend, which is first trying to read the problem carefully, maybe even a couple of times, trying out some sample input and output on paper to make sure you understand the question correctly and make sure you have the right idea. Then think about how to solve the problem using what you learned in class. The homework problems will always connect to what we learned in class, but maybe you just have to think back and think a little bit creatively. Additionally, you can watch the homework explanation video if you need. We have hint videos and solution videos to help you get through that process. Um, Use a pencil and paper to outline your plan on how to solve the problem, depending on the problem's difficulty or how well you understand it. And then also code your solution, test with different cases. A lot of times the problems will just give you one test case. You definitely want to create your own test cases and see if they work as expected. And then finally submit your work. Um, okay, so um, let's go on to the next problem here, which is homework night. So homework night is hosted every single night from 5 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and students are encouraged to join the Zoom session and work on their homework. So it is a place where you can get help, but you don't need to go to the homework night to get help. You can simply just join the homework night. It's nice and quiet, and you can just work on your homework during that time. And if you get stuck, you can ask one of the TAs for help, and they will be able to assist you. So don't feel like you have to go to the homework night with a question. You can always hang out there, and if you get stuck, then you can ask your question whenever you need it. And like I mentioned before, homework night Zoom link can be found in the courseware under the information tab. Now, the hint video and solution videos are a really useful tool for students to be able to make sure that they get full points. Oftentimes, there's just a small misunderstanding by the student on how to complete the problem. And the hint video is a way that they can clear up that misunderstanding and save them a lot of time from going down the wrong route. Now, make sure not to jump to the hint videos too soon. You really want to practice spending enough time to try and understand the problem yourself. Remember, if you're interested at all in competitions, you won't have hints or solutions to help you along the way. And the solution video will walk you through the code and show you how you can complete the problem as intended. Now, we also have a platform, Discourse. And in Discourse, this is basically a forum section where students can ask questions and either their classmates can answer, or we also have TAs who are dedicated to check for posts and answer and make sure students get the replies that they're looking for. So for this, it's student to student communication, and Discourse should be your priority when you have like any course related questions. Um, you can ask those and other students can answer or TAs can answer. Additionally, you can also ask homework related questions as well. Now, this is kind of a workflow diagram of how you should go about your homework. So after class, you have your homework, and if you have no clue how to start it, then you can always go to the hint video. Additionally, you can go back to the slides in class and see if you can make some connection from that. Now, if you failed a couple times and you don't really have the right idea or it's not quite working, you can then go to the solution video, which will be released after 2 days, or depending on the class, it might be slightly different, but our standard policy is about 2 days. And after the solution video, if you still are not quite understanding how the problem works or what's wrong with your submission, well, for our lower level classes, we have office hour that we offer where they can get the one-on-one TA debugging help. And for if you have a time conflict with that, or you're in a higher level class where we don't have such a need for the one-on-one help, well, we have the discourse where you can ask questions always, and you'll get a reply within 24 hours. And then also you can just go to the homework night and also ask your questions there. Now, additionally, the student guidebook is a resource that can be used and should be used by students in order to make sure that they have all the information regarding how to access discourse, how to do some other things like download test cases or some of the rules and instructions and some other helpful information. So just make sure that in your book, you see the student guidebook content, and there it will have all that information necessary for the students to understand, in case there's always some students who have some trouble logging into discourse or things like that. Now, a really important role in terms of the class is our class coordinators. Now, our class coordinators are basically our way of following up with the students and sort of monitoring their progress and being that communication layer between the teacher and the parents. Now, there's sometimes a lot of communication or questions or things like that that parents could have, and our class coordinators are there to quickly assist you and make sure that you have all the information and all your questions are answered. And they're basically going to collect some requirements for students and parents and make sure everything is synced and we're all on the same page, and just provide a really great service for you. And then they'll also provide some other coding related information like seminars and contests and camps and other things like that. So hopefully this information was really helpful. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to your class coordinator or reach out to us here at XCamp in order to get those questions answered. I hope that you have a really great quarter. You enjoy our teaching, and we see you back again for the next quarter.
Yeah, okay. That's our course introduction video. Definitely during this course, you should get yourself familiar with, the website and the discourse. That's the forum we will use for in-class coding practice, and also various links, right? So let me stop sharing this tab. I can go back sharing my entire screen. Yeah, that's the difference. If I share the entire screen, you won't able to listen to the audio. I think that's probably the case for all the online meeting tools. I don't know why it's that. Okay, let me reshare my entire screen. Okay. So let me double click on some of those things you already heard in the video. So the first thing is homework. So I think, as the other teacher already mentioned in his video, the homework is quite different compared to your school homework. So for your school homework, I don't know, I think most of you probably in middle school, or some of you might already in high school. Yeah, I think we all been through. I was young before, so definitely, let's say you have math, you have other type of homework. Normally those homework, for any single question, it doesn't take you that long to finish if you understand the problem well, right? Normally, you know the answer. If you don't, and then you don't know the answer, that's quite a lot of those school homework questions, quite binary outcome. Now, you just don't have no clue how to solve the problem, or you can solve it very quickly, easily, and have 100% of the score. But in terms of programming, that's not always the case at all, because for any programming problem, there's multiple ways to solve it. Even the code, the end result is same, but the code written by different people, they'll look different. So you won't have exactly the same code to solve the problem. And also you can solve the problem in so many different ways. So that's also the challenge. So that's why when you encounter challenges, yeah, don't give up. Just keep trying. This is how you learn, how to write code, right? You can't master coding without writing code by yourself. So that's definitely, you have to get used to it. It's not like, oh, the first time I submit my solution, I did not get 100% the full score. Okay, that's expected. So don't get frustrated. Yeah, then you just have to keep trying. So that's part of the, programming. It's you try to optimize your code, right? You have to go through multiple iterations. It's not like even for myself, there's no way for me to write the code once. I have the best, you know, algorithm, the best code, it's just never gonna happen. If someday you do end up in the high tech, in the, industry, you work in some of those big companies, yeah, even you finish your code, your teammates, your manager, other people gonna give you feedback. Nobody's code is perfect. Yeah, it's continuous improvement, process. So that's something definitely I want you to understand. And also in the video it introduced, the problem solving process. And definitely I think I shared, let me see, double check. I believe I shared all the parents meeting content with all of you. Uh, hmm, why it's not showing? Okay, it's getting blocked here. Let me double check again. Oh, okay, it's here. So here I did share this parent meeting week 1 material with all of you. So spend some time to look at all the slides here. Okay, so this slide I also want to emphasize as well. That's the class and the school policies. So basically, the number 1 policy, it's camera on. I do see some of you have a screen, an image on your screen, or you have a black screen just with your name on it. Yeah, please turn on your camera. If you don't have your camera on, then for the class participation score, you will have a very low score because we have no idea what you are doing behind the black screen, since we cannot see you. It's just very obvious. In the past class, we do have students, they are not actively participating in the class. And that's also gonna contribute your homework, completion rate. So if you don't participate, then you have to end up spending more time after the class by yourself, and then you try to do the homework. So basically, you need more time, to catch up because you haven't learned anything, you haven't paid attention to, the lecture at all during the class. And the class participation policy, right? So this is something I think all of you need to pay attention to. You do need to be active in the class because I will call the names, ask you to answer questions, right? And during discussion, you should be very active. It's not, you're answering the teacher's questions. Sometimes I ask you to help other students to, address certain, questions and challenges as well. Of course, respectful communication policy. And when you are not answering questions, please do mute yourself, right? Yeah. Otherwise, you're gonna interrupt not just me and also other students in the class. And the last but not the least, I want you have your full name, spelled out when you join the Zoom meeting, because I need to track your attendance, right? During the break, normally we have about 10 minutes break between the first half and the second half of the class. During that time, I will have to mark down whether you are, attending this week's class or not. And also the attendance rate will also gonna affect your final class score. I think that's very important. It just happens sometimes there might be multiple students share the first name. If you only put your first name, I have no idea who you are, right? Okay. And also for this class, we have a class coordinator. Her name is Iris Lee. I think most of the parents and, in the WeChat group, you probably already know her or know her name. She posted, all the messages and all the prerequisite. And she's the person definitely helped me to get this class, well organized. If you have any issues and any problems, feel free to contact her. Yes, using WeChat, particularly for parents. If you have any issues, any problems, yeah, please do contact Aries using WeChat. We have the group chat set up for that purpose and for students as well. Okay, I'll stop here. So far, any questions, any concerns from both students and parents? I don't know how many parents attending, uh, the parents meeting. I do know in the past, not all the parents are here. I know it's weekend and there might be other things to do. Okay, without further ado, we'll start our first week class. And if you have any questions and concerns, feel free to contact me or the class coordinator. Thank you. Okay, so also here is your student guidebook, right? And after today's class, if you haven't read some of those information here, I do encourage you to go through the student guidebook, right? After today's class, if you haven't read the student guide yet before the class, that's really help you, to have a good start with my class. So for this week, it's week 1. And I granted all of you the access to all the content here for week 1. So you should able to, if you are online, I'm pretty sure all of you, and you should able to see those slides, homework, class notes, and multi-choice questions as well. Okay, so week 1, we will introduce DFS. So what is DFS? What's DFS stands for? DFS stands for depth first search. So it's a search algorithm, right? Let's see how the DFS works and why it's called DFS. So to illustrate how this algorithm works, we try to solve a maze problem. So I think everyone of you understand what a maze is, right? So a maze, normally here we illustrate a maze using a 2-dimensional array. In real world, normally a maze is, you get into, some theme park, they have the maze, you get into it, try to find your way out, right? If it's not in maybe with a limited time, if you compete with other people, then you will lose the game. So for the math problem, the maze normally represent by using a 2-dimensional array. And then you have 0 and 1. Normally 1 represents the wall and 0, it means that's the path. So So here, see, you have the black cell, white cell. Black cell represents the wall, it's 1, and the white cell, that's the path, so it's 0. Okay? So now, let's see how we solve the maze problem. So the maze is really, you try to move and try to find your way out, right? So how do you move? That's the key. So basically, let me use a whiteboard tool to illustrate how we can move, right? Typically, if you are in a maze, you can move in 4 directions. So basically, if you are here in this circle, right, you can go up, you can go down, you can go left, you can go right. So this is up, this is down, this is left, this is right. Okay, so also if this is a map, because sometimes up also means north. If you are reading a map, right, and up is north, down is south, left is west, and right is east. I think these concepts you really need to understand and memorize them, right? Up and down, left and right, north, south, west, and east. I think if you have geometry or some other math related class, you might already learn this. Yeah, that will be good if you already have this knowledge. Okay, now let's go back to our maze problem again. So let's do a start, right? You see here is the start. Also, it's a 2-dimensional array. How do we represent a cell inside the 2-dimensional array, right? So with the 2-dimensional array, and also with this, in computer science, the 2-dimensional array, it's represented using a tuple or coordinate, you can see. So basically, it's a paired x and y, and x is represent the row, and y it's represent the column. Okay, so the direction is x. It's increase the value when it's going down. The y's value increase is going to the right. If this is the starting point, then you go the left, it's the value decrease. Okay. Oh, I think yeah. So basically, if you go up, the x value decrease. Okay, let's look at this maze, the start point. So it's also the 2-dimensional array. It's a 0 index. So the first cell, it's 0, 0. And then you go to the right. So the x, it's the same row, right? So the x number will not change. And then you have the y number change, increase. You go in the right direction. So it's 0, 1. That's the second cell. So the start cell, it's 0, 0 is the x, and y is 2. Okay, so you start. There's 4 directions you can go, okay? You can go left, that's 0, 1, and then you can go right. So right, oh, you can go up. I think what they did here is you go left, out, that means you go up. Out, that means it's out of this matrix, it's out of this two-dimensional array, it's out of bound. So that's why it's out, right? It's obvious. This is not part of the matrix anymore, maze anymore. Vol, that's the black cell. So basically left, up, out, right. This is, you hit the wall, you can't go there. So that's why out and wall all red. And then you can go down, that's good. You go down, the x increase, and also the y is the same since the start is 0, 2. So you go down, x increase to 1, y remain to be 2. So it's 1, 2. Now you got 1, 2, you got 0, 1, and then you repeat this process, right? When you get here, 0, 1, you repeat. So you go left, you go up, it's out, and then you go right. Okay, that's the start point. So that's why I say start. And then you go down, it's hitting the wall again. Okay, now you finish this one, this one. Let's do this one. So this one is the same. You go left, hit the wall, you go up, that's the start. Then you go right, that's 1, 3. You go down, that's 2, 2. Okay, any questions so far? Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, feel free to speak out. So let's see. So what do we need to solve the maze problem? So first, we need a 2D array to represent the maze. And also, how do we track which cell we have visited? So you need a way to track the state, right? That's very important. So the state tracking, it's the key to solve most of the problem. I have to say, not most of, all the problems in our class. So for state tracking, definitely you need to understand and know how to do state tracking. So you have a 2D array to represent the maze itself. You have another 2D array to mark the visited cells. And also you need to mark or track the size of the maze, right? The number of rows, the number of columns. So you need some way to store those information. So you might, so then you need some variables to store those information. And also throughout this class, there's different ways to store certain values. To keep things simple, we normally start using global variables to store some of those, data or values. And later on, we can switch to function parameters or parameters, local parameters. So we start with global variables, and later on, when we, start learning some other techniques, definitely we can change these global variables to be either functional parameters or local variables inside the function. So that way your code will look more structured, right? Instead of have global variables everywhere. There's a good and bad of using global variables. Yeah, sometimes it does make sense to use global variables. Sometimes it's definitely will cause problems. Okay. So to solve the maze problem with DFS, now we introduce algorithm called flat fill. So what the flat fill really does is to mark the cell you visited in the maze. So what that means? So that means if you are able to visit any cell, then you mark that cell as visited. So you don't have to visit that cell later again. Why is that? If let's say if you play a maze game, right? Then you already visited the cell, then later on you come back to visit that cell again. So you end up in an endless loop. You basically going back and forth forever. So that's not good, because if you are writing a computer algorithm, you have that kind